who shot two of their fellow officers. But there has to be work to be done in the other district, on the far northwest side, on the north side, on the far south side. So this is a logistical issue for police. I'm sure you have so many officers coming in off duty saying, I'm here, what do you need me to do? That's their DNA. That's how these men and women are made. And they want to help out on this thing.
You bring up a very good point, because they're all hands on deck there. You see the saturation of officers there. And again, this is not the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. That's not their area. And for them to be called in to help aid, it shows you how many officers that they're looking at, how many are needed to do what they have to do to canvass the area, to find this suspect that we are hearing now is still at large, and protect the community and the area around there.
But every officer can't come in right now. We have a Brewers game tomorrow night. We have Summerfest tomorrow night. These are all patrolled by Milwaukee police. These are all areas. It's summer in Milwaukee. There's a lot going on. Lakefront is always busy. I know the Sheriff's Department often takes care of that when there are issues along Lincoln Memorial Drive. That gets very, very busy on a hot night. Fortunately, tonight is rather a cool night, so I don't think there was a big congregation. I don't think they have crowd controls issues on a night like tonight. But there's a lot that needs to be handled, and there's a lot of logistics here to say, no, you can't come in right now. I know you want to. I know this is where your heart is, but we're going to need you tomorrow and tomorrow night and the day after that. Because right now, here's what we know. 2 officers are at Froedtert and 1 suspect in the area of 25th and Chambers, if that suspect, he or she, is still there. But they haven't caught them yet. They have not made that arrest yet, at least as far as we know.
Let's back up. It's 11:30. Let's just kind of press the pause button here and regroup as we take you to the timeline of what happened tonight. It was right around 9 o'clock that we sent, initially we sent Bria Jones to what we were hearing was a shooting at 30th and Lisbon. And then moments later.
And a significant shooting, Mary. If I can interrupt, because the medical examiner had been called to that spot, which means there's a fatality there.
Absolutely. And then, not that long later, we were hearing about this scene that we have been showing you at 25th and Garfield. And that's when Bria Jones moved to that situation, to that shooting. And that's when she talked to neighbors who said not that long ago, moments before she went on air, they had heard what they called a barrage of gunfire, at least 12 shots, and then sirens galore coming to that area. And they didn't, obviously, a neighbor's concerned. They didn't know what was going on. We do not know if those 2 scenes are independent or if they were connected. We do not know what started this barrage of gunfire, this violence, this shooting scene at 30th and Lisbon and 25th and Garfield. We don't know the catalyst right now. We do know that there is a suspect at large. We do know the 2 officers, of course, were shot, taken to Froedtert, as you can see there on your screen. And that's the only thing that we can confirm for you right now at this point, as we do await a press conference, hopefully at any minute.
We don't even know, really, if there'll be a press conference. They just said some media advisory is going to be released.
Yeah.
Like, we're looking for information.
It could be a press release.
Right, but if the chief's not there, does he want one of his other assistant chiefs giving the information? Does he want the mayor giving the information? All of that, I'm sure, is being worked out behind the scenes. But we are, again, showing you 2 different scenes right there. And I want to make sure I have the right scenes here. On your left is 25th and Garfield. And then on the right here is near 25th and Garfield right there. So we have a couple crews there. We have sent a crew over to the original location, Mary, at 30th and Lisbon. Our Kim Murphy is out at Froedtert Hospital as we await word there. So a lot of different information streams coming in, and we're trying to get the latest, but we're also trying to get the most accurate information we can.
Yeah, the only thing officially that we have heard from MPD, I'll reiterate that Milwaukee police were on the scene of that critical incident, and the public was asked to avoid the area because there was still a threat to the public. This coming in just about 14 minutes ago. They are calling this an active scene. Officers searching for a suspect in the vicinity. And they, again, are told there will be a media briefing to bring us up to date, a media advisory as soon as possible. But again, MPD in that area there of what they are just deeming a critical incident. And you see that right there. The center of it all seems to be right there at North 25th and West Garfield.
And I'm looking at a monitor. One of our photojournalists out at Froedtert is giving us the 1 minute indication. I don't know what's happening in a minute. Okay, that's where we're getting Kim Murphy ready to go there. So sorry, I'm telling the viewers here a lot of inside baseball, and I apologize for that. But we want to let you know how we're trying to get all this information and cover it as well. And
our Bria Jones there has been at 25th and Garfield, and she is working the scene there, trying to talk to neighbors, trying to talk to, if she can, officers or anybody who could have seen anything going on. We'll defer to our producer, Derek, to see if we can talk to Bria. But while we work on getting Bria, let's go back in the newsroom with Ben Handelman to see what he has pieced together. Ben?
Yeah, guys, I just can't tell you this has been such a chaotic night for Milwaukee police, because our reporters, they were out at the scene. There was a homicide investigation not too far away when the reports of these two officers being shot came in, and now we just at that time we just saw officers jump into their vehicles and fly down to the scene. And again, if you're just joining us, it's a weird night here in Milwaukee because the police chief is not in the city of Milwaukee. He is at a convention. It is the Major Cities Chiefs Association. So that is police chiefs from all the big cities really around the country. They're all gathering in San Antonio, Texas for this big conference. And Police Chief Jeffrey Norman, he represents the central region. I'm not sure which areas make up the central region of the Major Cities Chiefs Association, but he's out of town. While he's out of town, one of the biggest things in his career happens tonight. There's a meeting at the FPC, and they give him the green light to a new 4-year contract, and he actually zooms into that meeting over 1,000 miles away. So he's not even there for his big night at the FPC because he felt like he could do this via Zoom, I would assume. And obviously they've been meeting about this for the last few meetings at the FPC. So he gets a new contract tonight. And basically, after he gets the new contract, all hell breaks loose on the city streets of Milwaukee. We had a homicide investigation, and now we've got this with the two officers who've been shot there, 25th and Garfield. And then I will tell you, I'm just looking at the stats here, guys, and some of the reason. Okay, hold on. I got to get back to you guys at the scene because I know you're going to someone new, so I'm going to throw it back to you right now.
Yeah, we're going to go to Froedtert Hospital. Kim Murphy is standing by live there. And Kim, you know, we saw a lot of, looks like at least a dozen officers right outside the emergency room there.
Mary, we really had to move around. When I first got here, I tried to get as close to the emergency entrance as I could. There are 2 security guards there. They're not letting anyone in unless they are seeking care. So they waved us to the very edge of the campus. We managed to find another vantage point. I'm going to step out of the way here, and you can see the scene. And not a lot is happening here, but we have seen 1 or 2 more squads arriving on the scene, and it's just... It feels just like a waiting game. We're not really sure what's happening. We don't see a lot of activity here, but we know that something is going on here because this is an unusual number of police officers who are gathered near the emergency entrance. And again, Froedtert is being very strict about how close we can come, and so that is hampering a little bit of our reporting, but we can tell you that it does appear that there is a vigil that is going on here at Froedtert Hospital. We are at 89th and Wisconsin. Again, we had to move around because we were pushed to the very edge around 92nd, first of all, and then to 87th. And so my photographer has had to move a couple of times until we found this spot. But we are keeping an eye on things, and as soon as we get more information here, we will definitely bring it to you. Mary?
Kim, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We were told you might not be able to hear us, so that is good. Are they all Milwaukee police officers there, as far as you can tell? In the past, we've seen this. We have seen other departments go to the emergency room offering some sort of support, whether that be emotional support or saying, hey, how can we help out in your district? But from what you can see now, is it all MPD squads there?
Yeah, I'm going to get out of the way and let my photographer, Jake, zoom in a little bit. And it's really, I mean, we are across a pond, so we're a good distance away. We can tell just by, you know, that they are police squads, but from what departments, I can't, you know, clearly make out what departments they are from. But you can see there are 2 squads that are parked, and then beyond.
I can see one of them's Wauwatosa there. I have the advantage of
Yeah.
looking through the lens that you're not looking through, which would make sense that Tulsa police would be there given the location of the hospital.
Yeah, but this it's different to be blocked from even getting anywhere near the emergency entrance. Right away, I was waved off, and the security said, if you are not here for care, you are not allowed to enter that drive that takes you to the emergency door. And so, again, this is as close as we can get to the scene, and we are just waiting to see if we get any kind of confirmation on what exactly is happening here. But we do believe that the officer who was wounded is inside, and as soon, like I said, as we get more information, we will. But it's just, I can tell you from a reporter stand, it's a very heavy feeling, because you know that this is a trauma center, and you know that there are life-saving measures that are going on in there, and we're just waiting, hoping to get some more information, but it's just a very difficult evening.
Yeah. Can we sense that almost an ominous scene there? If there is any good news that we can glean, it is that Froedtert is a level 1 trauma, and they see this all the time. If anybody is equipped to handle serious injuries and to bring somebody through, nobody does it better than Froedtert. So there is some comfort in knowing that they are in good hands. We can let you go and continue to kind of monitor that scene. We have you up on a monitor here in the studio. As you know, we'll pull you up and wave at us too. You know, we can see the monitor if we need to come to you, because we will immediately break away and join you again at the scene. But really appreciate the update there from outside of Froedtert, as so many officers are gathered right now.
And Murph, you just raise your hand if you're seeing new information or whatever. You break into us, all right?
Absolutely, thanks.
All right, Kim Murphy out of Froedtert Hospital for us. As we now take a look at the scene, this is at 25th and Chambers, or Garfield, excuse me, 25th and Garfield right here. This is the area where the two officers were shot. Mary, do we have a timeline on that? I know you were piecing it together.
Yeah, we were kind of looking at here because I remember, I'll tell you exactly what's going on in the newsroom, because that's the only way that I know. I was approving Bria's story for her original story, and I heard right after 9 o'clock that she's being pulled to the breaking news. So I know
at 30th and Lisbon.
At 30th and Lisbon. Yep. So even before 9 o'clock, she was not being pulled to that scene. So this kind of came in fast and furious. It was just after 9 o'clock that we were hearing the scanners from the assignment desk. Bria goes to the scene there at 30th and Lisbon. During the time that she's en route, we are hearing about this situation at 25th and Garfield. And so I know immediately she moved to that scene. And I think, Ted, as you and I were out here on set just starting the news, all this was kind of trickling in. This seems to have happened within about an hour, between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, that you had the shots. And again, we don't know if these two scenes are connected. We don't know if 30th and Lisbon, where the Emmy was called, and this 25th and Garfield, if they're connected. You can only anticipate answers from MPD when they are going to give us a briefing.
And we're waiting to hear from that. They say there will be some sort of media advisory when they have the information that they are able to share.
We know that we are moving Bria right now to another location. She has been there. She has been gathering sound. She talked to residents in that area. We're going to try to piece together what she has brought us, and we do have sound bites coming from neighbors in that area there, right around 25th and Garfield. As soon as we can get those into our system and locked and loaded, we're going to bring you that soundbite. She talked to a gentleman there who said that he heard the shots, but we need to get that cleaned up and to you. We'll get that turned around just as soon as we can.
We do have the original interview she had with a gentleman who was on his back patio having a hot dog when he heard it all. So if we do have that ready to go, if maybe we could hear that, because some people are just hearing about this and joining us, and he was not an eyewitness account, but he was certainly an ear witness account as to what happened. And we get that queued up. Let's go back into the newsroom with Ben Handelman, because I'm told you have some new information.
Yeah, guys,
right?
I just want to give you some insight into what's going on here in the newsroom. We're moving crews around because we're getting some word that the action is really kind of all over this neighborhood now. So it started 25th and Garfield, but we're getting reports from blocks away now, and that is just confirmation that this is still active, guys. The hunt is still on for suspects in this case, and our crews are moving accordingly, and we actually have more crews heading to the scene right now. So I just wanted to chirp in here and say it's still very active down there, guys, as this is really a manhunt. It's kind of interesting because we're seeing police show up at areas and they'll move on. So we'll take a camera. It looks like, oh, there's not, like here, it looks like not a lot going on there. No, I will tell you right now, in this neighborhood, there is a lot of movement, just not where our cameras are right now. So we're moving some cameras. I think we're going down towards Vine Street, too. So, I mean, we're talking 2-3 blocks as this thing's expanding. I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Yeah. So
Okay, hold on, Ben. If you could, sorry, Ben, we're actually having a meeting out here to try to figure out what we know and don't know. So I'm going to ask you to keep talking about what you're talking about. I apologize to put you on the spot, but we're getting new information out here, too. And we want to make sure we have our ducks in a row. So if you don't mind, continue on your train of thought and come back to us in a minute or so.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to walk our viewers through all of the scenes that we're following right now. So you're looking live. This is 25th and Garfield. This is where, very close to here, we believe 2 Milwaukee police officers were shot this evening. They were rushed over to Froedtert Hospital. We do have Kim Murphy is right now at Froedtert, and you can see we are seeing more and more police officers arriving. Not all of these are Milwaukee police officers, but you can see those are all the motorcycle units and some of these officers just gathering around, and we're seeing a vigil here. And then there's a manhunt underway. The latest from Milwaukee police telling people if we can go back to that area at 25th and Garfield, they're asking people stay away. They say there is still an active threat, and that is telling me that the persons or people responsible here are not in custody. And we're talking about all of this chaos that occurred as these Milwaukee police officers were shot in this area. As they're being rushed to the hospital, the investigation to find the shooter continues. Right now, unclear. We do not have it confirmed why Milwaukee police were called to this area to begin with. There was a homicide not too far away on Lisbon earlier in the night. Unclear right now if that's related. But that is another active scene that is currently happening because we do know there's a homicide investigation taking place there. The ME, we saw them on scene, and our crews were there at the start of this night during our 9 o'clock news hour as we were watching police officers jump inside their police cars and speed off here to 25th and Garfield. Our crews, they've been moved several times tonight as this investigation has shifted. Kind of interesting. Look at the police tape there. It's just kind of, it's, you know, not as tight as it would be. There's no officers by that area as you've seen cars kind of move through the area, confused how to get through this neighborhood. Bottom line, if you don't need to be anywhere near 25th and Garfield tonight, don't go there because there are police. It's an active, the scenes are moving, and you can see, I mean, you're just seeing some of the traffic here moving around. Our cameras, I mean, you're seeing people walk on the street, but our cameras have moved several times. Sometimes the Milwaukee Police Department has said, hey, you need to back up, you need to move to different areas. And right now we're sending our crews to an area close to the Vine Street where there has been some activity as the search appears to be going south of the scene right here at 25th and Garfield. So we're following all of this. Meanwhile, we know that other jurisdictions have been brought in to help. Our Bria Jones was speaking not too long ago when FBI members showed up, jumped out of their car, and started running down the street. So we do know that the Milwaukee Police Department tonight, they are getting help from different jurisdictions, including the feds, are out there tonight. So we do know the federal government, the FBI, are assisting Milwaukee police. They have all sorts of tools, and we have seen Milwaukee police bring out all the tools. Again, this is the best equipped police department in the entire state of Wisconsin. We know the canines are out there. I've seen some shots of the drones that are up there. So, guys, the investigation continues. I'll throw it back to you in the studio.
All right, Ben, thank you very much. And, Ben, one of the reasons we asked you to talk a little bit is because we were confirming some information in here. Mary has a source, I got a source on this, and they are telling us the same thing, and that these two officers were ambushed, that the suspect was waiting for them. Why they were looking for the suspect is the mystery right now. Is it in relation to what was happening at 30th and Lisbon? We don't know. We don't know if a warrant was being served. We don't know why these officers were in that area. But your source telling you the same thing my source is telling me, it's not the same source. We got to make that clear, that these two were ambushed.
In that situation, when they go into that, as you know, there's very little way to protect yourself from that. If this suspect knew exactly where those officers were going, there is very little that they can do to protect themselves in that kind of a situation, even if there were two of them involved. And we do know that two officers were involved in this shooting, so you can only imagine the volatility. We heard from the neighbor that Bria Jones talked to say, I heard at least, maybe more, at least 12 shots fired. So this wasn't a 1 or 2 or 3 pop-off. This was somebody, maybe it was an exchange of gunfire, but multiple rounds of bullets were exchanged somewhere between around the 9 o'clock hour there. You can see there's still a lot of police activity there near 25th and Garfield. Our Bria Jones is walking around. She's moving to a different location in that area to try to garner more information. But we have not heard anything other than police or people are urged to avoid that area because it's still an active scene and they are still searching for a suspect in that area. That was the last update that we got from the Milwaukee Police Department at 11:20, that people were to avoid the area, suspects still at large, and that they were still working that area, of course, to gather evidence, talk to witnesses, talk to neighbors, and find out exactly what happened in that area. We are still awaiting some briefing from them at some point tonight.
And again, we are moving Bria Jones to that area, 27th and Vine, but we don't know why. We just know that that is where the flow of police activity seems to be moving now. And you got to forgive us, folks. We are both checking both have two phones out here, and we're both checking, and we're both trying to hear from our sources here about what we do know and what we can confirm. So we want to be really careful here. And again, I'm sorry, I sound like a broken record in a way. I just don't want to give you information that we haven't vetted and verified. Let us take a look out at Froedtert, if we could, because I'm looking in the monitor there. Can we go to the Froedtert shot right there? Because what you're going to see, thank you very much in the booth, you're seeing that looks like a Milwaukee County, or is that a motorcycle officer there in the bright yellow, and you see him walking down that roadway there to meet with other officers who are there. That car in the front that you can't see right there, or you can't see the emblem on it, but we could see it earlier. That is a Wauwatosa police SUV right now. So we know we have Milwaukee police on the scene. Looks to be the motorcycle unit. In fact, it was the motorcycle unit, Bria says, that led them out of that neighborhood at the shooting at 25th and Chambers and led the emergency procession out to Froedtert, a level 1 trauma center here. Not the only level 1 trauma center in the state, of course, but certainly the biggest one in southeastern Wisconsin, and the one where you would bring a gunshot wound, whether it be a civilian or a police officer. More than likely, they are going to Froedtert. Your major car accidents are going to Froedtert. Any kind of serious trauma injury is going there. There's a number of level 1 trauma units in the state of Wisconsin. University of Wisconsin Hospitals has what is thought to be the best in the state. I don't want to get into ranking them here. That's not important. But certainly Froedtert is the number 1 in our area, where, God forbid, if you ever needed such acute care, you would get it there for sure. And so the waiting game now, Mary, the waiting game to find out what we know about what went down at 30th and Lisbon, what went down at 25th and Chambers, how these two officers are doing. We're hearing wild speculation. We are hearing all over the board updates on their health, which is why we're not reporting any of it, because you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, as the old saying in journalism goes. So we understand there are loved ones watching this right now of police officers, and I know you want information, and we want to give you that information, but we want to give you the right information.
Yeah.
You deserve that, and these officers deserve that.
Yeah. All right, let's check back in with 27th and Vine. We told you she was moving there from 25th and Garfield, where we were talking to her earlier, and I think she's established herself. Bria, you have switched locations. A much more quiet scene behind you right now. Tell us why you moved to that location, please.
Mary, we moved over here because the crime scene was expanding and we wanted to see exactly what was unfolding in this area. This is as close as we could get to 27th and Vine. This is at least 3 to 4 blocks over from where this crime scene is unfolding at 25th and Garfield. So hopefully you can hear me. I apologize for any technical difficulties.
Bria, you're doing great. I just want you to know that we can hear you.
Yep, you're
so,
fine.
yes, please keep talking,
okay,
and please make sure you're safe,
okay,
but
you
please
can
keep
hear
talking.
me. Okay,
yes,
sorry
you're
about
good.
that.
No, you're good. Go ahead, please.
So sorry about that. So again, very fluid, very active investigation out here. This is as close as we could get to 27th and Vine. Very quiet from what we saw earlier. We were at, 24th and Garfield, and we were at 24th and Lloyd. Eric, I want you to pan over. Let me show you some more action, because this is what I'm seeing all over. These officers are canvassing. There's an officer right here coming out of a home. This is what we've been seeing just for the last, since we arrived here at about 9:55. We have seen these officers. They are walking around this area. There's a car coming up right now, still speeding. This is, again, we're still, you see what speed is like.
Bria, I'm going to interrupt because we have lost you a little bit. You were fine 30 seconds ago. I don't know if it's your Nat sound mic or your mic there.
Much better.
Give us a quick... Go ahead and keep talking. But I know you have good information, and I want our viewers to hear it.
We can hear you now.
Okay, they said they can hear me now.
Yes, that's perfect right there. And since I got you, we hear a dog barking. Is that a police dog, or is that a dog in the neighborhood upset by the commotion of what's happening?
It is the latter. That is a dog in the neighborhood. We've heard several of those tonight. I was showing you just the officers that were canvassing this area. There was a speeding cruiser that came down 27th when I was having those microphone issues. But again, this is very fluid. This is very active. I heard Mary say earlier, this is a waiting game. And as we wait for this information, these officers, they are piecing together this crime scene with very heavy hearts, as we now know that 2 officers have been shot and rushed to the hospital. So again, we are working to confirm any new information as we get it. We have, again, I want to take you over here. This is 27th and Lloyd. This is where we were earlier, but we have officers just walking up and down the street. They're going into all of these homes, making sure that they leave no stone unturned when it comes to conducting this investigation. Looking down Lloyd, I could just see at least, just counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 officers just with my naked eye, just looking down the street, because there are so many officers just surrounding this scene, securing this perimeter, making sure that they lock down this crime scene as they conduct their investigation. This scene, obviously this area more quiet because we're about 2 blocks over from 25th and Garfield, but there is just so much that we have been seeing, we have been witnessing. There was an FBI agent earlier running down 27th Street. There's this, Eric, if you could pan back over here to 27th towards Vine, there's some sort of truck. I see someone in the back of a truck. I'm sure it seems like there's some sort of law enforcement vehicle down there, but I'm counting. If you just take a look, I've been telling you guys how many officers have been walking, I've been telling you guys about the packs of officers that have been walking. I believe this is several officers coming towards us right now. There's at least, 4 walking down the middle of the street. There's another 4 here walking on the sidewalk. So there are dozens and dozens of officers here. I had a chance to speak with the man about 15 minutes ago. He described to me, he said that the gunshot, he said he heard an initial gunshot. He was cleaning up at Storm's early childhood school. He said he heard an initial gunshot. He said that it was so loud that it sounded like thunder. I want you to take a listen to what he had to say in our conversation.
I heard a pump shotgun. The first one, they got out 1 round. It boom. And I kept on doing what I was doing. And then I heard another one. Boom. Just real loud. I mean, this was loud. I never heard one this loud, though. And then shortly after them 2 shots, I seen about 15 cars 15 SWAT cars going down Garfield. I don't know if they were turning because I was in there, but what I do know that they went straight down, and I thought they were gonna keep going. And then once they got so packed down there, they right in front of my school. A whole lot of them.
So you were in here, you were cleaning up?
I was cleaning up, yeah.
So again, back out here live, we have officers walking down 27th Street. This is what we've been seeing all throughout the night. Officers walking together as a group, canvassing this area. There's a lot of activity. Eric, if I can have you zoom in. And when you zoom in, I'm going to try to tell you exactly what I can see. But there are a lot of police vehicles that are at 27th and Vine. I'm looking, it seems to be some sort of maybe a tactical vehicle, but there are a lot of law enforcement vehicles, car squads down in that direction, and we're trying to figure out why, because this is, again, this is at least a half a mile away from where the shooting is said to have occurred at 25th and Garfield. So just a very widespread, active, very fluid investigation here tonight. And we are just waiting by. We're hoping to at some point to hear from officials. I know that they are, of course, assisting with this big undertaking at this moment in time. But we do know, at least in the last, 2 hours, when we reached out to the city, we knew that the mayor was heading this way, and all that they would tell us at this point is that this is a very bad situation. So hopefully at some point tonight we can get some answers. We can learn a little bit more about what has happened, because you could feel the heaviness here and just the seriousness of the situation that we have heard from so many of our sources, our contacts, as we try to sort through and weave together the facts of this investigation. I'll send it back to you guys.
Yeah, Bria, thank you right there. But we get ready to switch shots right now, because it looks as though there's activity outside of Froedtert. As you know, we have a camera at Froedtert. And while we establish that shot, Bria, I'll continue to talk, because we have been telling you that Mayor Cavalier Johnson was en route. We have not seen him, but we are told that maybe he was going to be en route. Right now, we're going to switch to outside of Froedtert Hospital. Kim Murphy is standing by, where we just saw it looked like a caravan of squads heading into the area. Can we get Kim's shot here? Kim, what have you learned? Have you been able to see and hear anything there?
Hey, Mary, we're going to take you right now. We just saw just a line of squads that are just now arriving at Froedtert. You can see, first we saw a Milwaukee squad arrive, perhaps preparing for what you see now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, there is just a procession of squads, and in my experience, that usually is not a good sign. But we are waiting for more information, and just this is the scene that's unfolding here. We've been here for a while now. There have been a number of officers and squads. We saw from Wauwatosa. We also saw Milwaukee. You also see motorcycle officers there. But this would seem as if these squads are lining up to form a procession.
And that is, it's an ominous sight. It's chilling. I think we all want to take a collective deep breath, because that is, as you said, it's a very ominous sign, and never one that we relish. We only know for certain that these two officers were taken to Froedtert Hospital. We do know that there's a large presence out there. When we looked at this scene, Kim, at 25th and Garfield, there's a lot of police there. So to see the presence here, that could be very telling as to why that they are there for the amount of squads there. We see the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. We see the motorcycles. We do know when those two officers were taken to Froedtert, they were followed by that group of cycles that we're seeing there. We're seeing a group of officers, I'm sure you can see them, making their way up to the emergency area. We have a great vantage point. We know you are far away, because you and your camera guy, your photojournalist, Jake, were shooed off, told get out of the area if you're not being treated or with somebody. Yeah.
Absolutely. As I joined you before, we tried to at least see what the situation was at the emergency entrance, which, you know, is a block away, just the drive, and we were turned away. It's barricaded. There were two security officers there, and unless you are here at Froedtert for care, you are not getting in through that drive. And now we are now at 89th in Wisconsin, and we're just across the way from the emergency entrance, and you can see, as we can see, that there are officers that are gathered there and more than a dozen squads here. And so we'll keep an eye on this, and as things develop, we'll get back to you. But this is what we see at this hour.
Hey, Kim, it's Ben Handel. Guys, I'm just
Ben.
chiming in the newsroom. I just want to bring up something as we're seeing this new group of police officers. We just went past 12 a.m. here. Guys, there's been a shift change here now at the Milwaukee Police Department. I know we're doing a lot of speculating why a bunch of officers have just arrived here, but Milwaukee Police, they do run 3 shifts here, 8 to 4, 4 to midnight, and then midnight to 8. So right now, at this hour, all across the city of Milwaukee, there are new officers are coming in to take over the overnight shift. And I'm kind of wondering if, you know, some of the guys who were on duty are now just racing out to Froedtert to finish their day.
You know, Ben, we really don't know the answer to that. Like I said, it was just since we've been here, that is the most officers that I've seen arrive. They were coming down Wisconsin Avenue, and it was just something to see. They all had their lights on, and so we're just waiting for more information. You can see another group of officers now joining here. You guys may be able to see a little bit better than I can.
We can, yes.
My photojournalist Jake zooms in. So you guys take it from here and tell me what you see.
Sure. Well, we see a lot of hugs. We do see officers, and Ben brings up a really good point about a shift change, and Kim brings up a very good point about what looks to be the beginning of a procession. We should elaborate on that, and we hope we're wrong on that. Let me just say that. We hope we're wrong on that, because when you say procession, what are you talking about, procession? In the times when there have been police fatalities, which we have seen way too many of in the last number of years, if there is indeed a fatality, they will leave the emergency room, mostly Froedtert, almost always Froedtert, and a police procession will bring that body to the coroner's office. We're hoping, we're praying to God that that's not the case, that this is a shift change. So both Ben and Kim have very viable explanations for the gathering of officers out there. I'm hoping and praying it's Ben's version. I know Kim joins all of us in not wanting it to be that procession, but when you said that, I just think we needed to elaborate on what we mean procession, because that is what happens in the eventuality that an officer has lost his or her life.
One thing we do know for certain, there is always a show of solidarity. These are brothers in blue, brothers in blood. And so no matter what the situation is here, if it's a procession, if it's a shift change, they are sending a message to their colleagues, to the department, that we stand by you, we stand with you, and that you have our support, because not only are you talking about the physicality here, you're talking about the emotions here. There are family members, no doubt, waiting for those 2 officers who were brought there to get any information at all. And your heart just bleeds for those family members. When you have an officer that you're involved with and they leave, you just hope and pray every day that they walk through the door at the end of that shift. So there is just an emotional outpouring right now that we're witnessing.
And that support is needed. Ben, you said you had something you wanted to join on?
Well, I just thought it was interesting as we look at these Milwaukee police officers, the people who are on the force now know the risks better than some of their predecessors. I mean, when I started here in Milwaukee, a fatal police shooting was almost unheard of. The Milwaukee Police Department went 22 years without anyone on the department being killed, and that was Wendell and Tanner back in 1996. He was chasing down a robbery suspect, all the way up until 2018 when Chucky Irvine died on duty. There was a whole generation almost of Milwaukee police officers who luckily as we were talking about that procession earlier that we've seen here, had never had to experience that, or if they had, it had been, you know, almost 2 decades previous. Since 2018, this has been a very dangerous job in Milwaukee. 5 police officers have been killed, and again, we're hoping that is not the case here tonight. But just a couple of weeks ago, a police officer shot on the job, taken the freighter, and we saw him walk out the next day, thankfully. But again, all the police officers that we're looking at right now, they are very aware of the risks of the job because of the recent history at the Milwaukee Police Department.
Absolutely. And Ben, you bring a good point that at the beginning of this month, when we saw that officer shot, we saw a concentrated area of violence, and we saw calls from our city officials, from elected officials, for a calmer, quieter, peaceful summer. And we have seen efforts to try and get that. And here we are, just after that rash of violence starting on June 6th in the area of 46th and Hampton. We have seen, safe to say, an uptick where every week since then, we're at June 27th now, just 20 days out of that where we had that rash of shootings. And now we are seeing this again. Not even a month later, this officer-involved shooting where 2 officers are there at Froedtert Hospital. So clearly cries to the community from Mayor Cavalier Johnson and Chief Jeffrey Norman were not answered, at least at this point.
Well, it's interesting when you look at the crime data. Homicides right now are up about 10% in the city. But if you look at overall shootings, that includes non-fatal, actually down about 10%. So compared to last year. Now, granted, it's 260 nonviolent shootings. I don't know what we're at as far as how many days we've had in the year, but that's a lot of shootings in the city of Milwaukee, and even that number is down from the previous years. The homicide numbers actually down big time from a couple of years ago. But again, Mary, to your point, as the summer has hit, and we have seen some hot spot areas where Milwaukee police have been busy, and Ted brought up a good point earlier, they've been understaffed. When that officer was shot at District 7, on that same day, the union was reporting that there was a night in District 7 where only 1 officer was on duty that night. Now, the police department clapped back a little bit. They said there were actually some officers who were at the hospital covering someone who was in the hospital but was in custody. There were other people on duty that night. But again, no matter what the number was of officers working that night in District 7 when that officer was shot, not a lot. That they're understaffed. And even the police department, we just saw a police recruiting class come through. It's not full. The city has these budgeted out for, I think, over 60 officers to be in the classes, and they're seeing about half that number actually go through the academy. It is a tough job. It is a dangerous job, and what we've seen in recent history, they're having trouble convincing people to do the job.
Well, as you, to your point, Ben, they have pulled out calls to put incentives out there to do recruiting efforts where they're saying, you know what, we're going to sweeten the pot because we're looking for people to join the force. They have made, multiple efforts there to get more people involved, recruiting, as you have more people even retiring now, looking at, okay, I'm going to get out because of the volatility, because of the harm that they face every single day.
I don't blame them. Once they get their time in, whether it's 20 or 25 years, whatever they need for that retirement and for that pension, many can retire in their late 40s or early 50s because they have put in the time. But it's not just Milwaukee, as we have done a number of stories on this, as we all know. I'm telling you guys everything you already know. Across the country, police recruitment is down for many reasons, whether it's pay, whether it's danger, whether it's how they've been perceived in the public since 2020, whether it's been, the defund the police movement for whatever reason, and there are many factors. Police recruitment is down across the country. It is hard to get people to sign up and say, I want to serve your city, the city I live in. So, okay. And we have from the Department of Transportation, Mary, let's talk about this. This is the original officers being rushed to the scene. What do we know about that?
Yeah, we do know that after that initial call came in, the initial call came in right around the 9 o'clock hour of the medical examiner called to an area of 30th and Lisbon, and we know that there were shots fired there. And then shortly thereafter, we heard about the situation at 25th and Garfield. Do not know if those two were related, but in those two areas, we do know at some point those two officers were involved in that shooting there. And again, the officer involved shooting happened at 25th and Garfield, and this happened then shortly after that. The officers will rush two officers to Froedtert Hospital, and there was a large procession of motorcycles behind these emergency vehicles, following them to Froedtert Hospital. So this was this is the first time we're seeing this video, Ted.
And I'm going to ask a question that perhaps viewers are asking, and I may have egg on my face for asking it, but why does this say Waukesha camera? There, if you were going from 25th and Garfield to Froedtert, you wouldn't go through Waukesha. Can anyone explain that to me in my ear?
Unless there's construction road closures, perhaps. That could be the reason.
I don't think you go that far out of your way. I'm curious as why. Well, I know many of you are watching, might be asking the same thing I am, and I don't want to get bogged down on that. But if we do know, if anyone in the newsroom can clarify that for me, I'm sure I'm asking.
That's just I just want to clarify. Yeah. That's a group that records the DOT camera.
Thank you.
So it's not coming from.
Okay.
It's coming from DOT, but we're courtesying the group that actually recorded the video.
Thank you. I knew. Okay. I just knew viewers would be asking the same thing I was. So Ben Handelman in the newsroom. With the voice of reason on that one, so thank you, but it was a little bit confusing there as we now take a live picture, and I do know where this is. This is Froedtert Hospital right now. And I don't, is this a vigil? Is it a gathering of officers showing emotional support out there for curiosity to see how they can help, what they can do? There have been many cases where an officer has been shot and was kept alive for a number of days, and officers stayed out there around the clock, off duty, in a vigil, a show of support for both the family, for each other, for themselves. And we're seeing, as officers pull up to the scene, we're seeing hugs. We're seeing people grab each other and hugging each other. And the anxiety and the uncertainty that these men and women you're looking at right now have to feel, it's heartbreaking to know that they are dealing with two of their colleagues who are inside.
Yeah. We do have a statement coming right now that we are going to read you from the Milwaukee Police Association, and it's a long statement. I'm going to try to read this in its entirety. Here is the text, and it was profound sorrow and outrage that we confirm that two Milwaukee police officers were tragically shot and critically injured in the line of duty tonight, meaning last night, as we are in the wee hours of Friday morning now. Our thoughts are with these officers, their families, their friends, and colleagues. These officers face unimaginable suffering, and they have long roads ahead of them. The senseless act of violence has struck the very heart of our department and our community. We have reached a breaking point. Violence in our city is out of control, and those who protect our neighborhoods are increasingly in the crosshairs. We have had 5 officers killed in the line of duty over the past 7 years, and dozens of our officers have been shot and shot at while trying to protect our neighborhoods. Our officers wear the badge with pride and honor, but our officers need more leadership from the city to bring an end to the violence. We are grateful to all of the first responders, doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals who've cared for our officers tonight. We continue to pray for the recovery of our officers and ask the communities for prayers. This just coming in, we're getting word of this at 12:14 a.m. from the Milwaukee Police Association. They put this out on social media. We wanted to bring that to you.
And I want to stress, and I want to, audibly underline a phrase here. These officers face unimaginable suffering and have long roads ahead of them. You don't need to look through the lines too hard to say they are both alive right now at this situation. If I'm reading that correctly, they both have long roads ahead of them. I'm being as optimistic as possible. I hope I'm not reading too much into that, but it is not mentioned, and we have heard reports of a fatality, and we want to be really clear. You didn't hear it here. You did hear it from one of our witnesses, somebody we talked to, but that person did not have the knowledge and should not have shared that. But from this statement, Mary, I am inferring that both these officers right now are still alive.
The call here, Ted, we have heard over and over from our elected officials, from MPA, from many members of the community and from neighbors themselves to work together, to band together, to end the violence in Milwaukee. Imagine, if you will, the segment of the population that we have not talked about tonight, because there is so much going on and we're trying to get so much information, is the area that was affected. 25th and Garfield. If you live in that area, or the area where we just saw our Bria Jones at 27th and Vine, and you hear a multitude of gunshots and you see the police squads and you hear the sirens after 9 o'clock at night and you're awakened, it's a frightening situation to know right outside of your front door that this volatile and this violence and you know, dramatic situation is playing out, presumably with children not too far away in the homes, etc. We do know, as we look at this scene from Froedtert, it has grown. It started with a few officers and police there gathered in front of motorcycles, and this has grown exponentially just in the last, I would say, 20 minutes when we last checked in with Kim Murphy to see officers rushing there, and now they're standing, it looks as though, await to hear some word, gathered as a sign of support, gathered to show their solidarity as they wait to hear about and just show support for their brothers in blue.
If Kim is nearby, and I don't know if she's hearing us or not, and I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, I'm wondering if Kim is seeing more officers arriving on the scene, and I know we're in communication with her, so either one way or another we'll get this answered here. But Mary, you mentioned it's growing. We wonder how often they are arriving there. Again, in fairness to Kim, she's been pushed back by Froedtert security. And through the eyes of a good telephoto lens, we are able to see what she cannot see from where she is, not clearly anyway. So that is a question I have for Kim, if she is able to hear us. If not, we'll circle back to that.
Yeah, hey there,
Ted.
Ted.
Hey, Murph, how are you? Okay, good.
Yeah, and so you can see just more officers are gathered right there at the corner. So this is a growing crowd of officers. We've seen Milwaukee County Sheriff Squad pass us, presumably going to join the other law enforcement that's gathered there. But yes, we are seeing more officers arrive here.
And they're still keeping you a far way back, is that correct?
Yes, so we are, this is about the closest that we can get. We are technically off of the Froedtert property, and for the privacy of those who are being taken care of inside the hospital. But security for Froedtert has not bothered us since we've found this space, and so we're just gonna, what we see, you see.
All right, well, I know you'll continue to monitor that situation. We'll keep on the shot here, and I'm going to see if we can get back to Bria for an update on the area that she moved to, 25th and 27th and Vine. Not sure if anything has changed at the initial epicenter of all this, and that was 25th and Garfield. We have not been given any new information. The last information that we received from the Milwaukee Police Department came at just about an hour ago to say just avoid the area at this point, and they have not changed their stance on that. They still put out that statement that came at 11:20, about an hour ago, saying they were on the scene of that critical incident. That's the only thing they're saying about it, at 25th Street in West Garfield. And again, just telling the public to avoid the area as they continue to search for a suspect. We have not at this point been given an update if there has been a suspect apprehended, if that area is still a very busy area, or if they are looking elsewhere. We're going to try to get together some information on that as we continue to look at this information here, or this scene at Froedtert Hospital. We are told we do have Bria Jones standing by live. So Bria, once we get a picture of you and we can see the scene, we'll dig in a little bit. Have you moved locations? Are you still there at 27th and Vine?
Mary, we have moved back over to 27th and Garfield. I want you to take a look behind me. I heard you ask whether or not things are still active. You can hear the sirens in the background. We are still seeing moving police vehicles coming in and up 27th. But just take a look down. This is 25th and Garfield you're taking a look at. This is where we're told that officer-involved shooting occurred. This is where we now know that 2 Milwaukee police officers were injured. So again, this is 25th and Garfield. This is a scene of an officer-involved shooting. We have now been on the scene for over 2 hours now. We first arrived here a little after, or I guess I should say a little before 10 o'clock, about 9:55. It is now approaching 12:30. These officers, they are still working to piece together this investigation. You said you wanted to know if officers were still out here. We're still seeing officers secure the perimeter of this scene. It continues to grow. There's a lot of moving activity. At one point we saw officers, and if I look down the street, I still see those squads. I still see what appears to be that heavy artillery down there at 27th and Vine. So this investigation has so many different pockets, I should say. Traffic is being diverted in different areas because it's going all the way down to 27th and North. I had a chance to speak with a janitor who works here at Starm's Early Childhood. He was telling me that he heard a gunshot that sounded like thunder. Then he said he heard another gunshot that was the loudest gunshot he's ever heard before. He said that's when seconds later he came outside and he saw dozens of squads rushing to this area. Again, 25th at Garfield, where we now know that 2 Milwaukee police officers have been injured after a shooting. Again, I was telling you about 27th and Vine. This scene, again, second by second, things are growing, things are moving, things are changing. We're no longer seeing a large crowd of people. There were, at one point, there were dozens of people who were outside of their homes, but we still have those people that are looking from their doorsteps because officers, they're knocking on doors at this point. It's after midnight, but we're seeing officers canvassing different homes. Had a chance to speak with my colleague, Bill Miston, who once he arrived on the scene, and he was telling me that he saw up on the other side, because he was able to get to the other side of 27th and Vine. He said that's where he saw officers that looked like they were crossing off yards. They were with their flashlights going house by house, making sure, again, that they left no stone unturned as they figure out who they're looking for, who the suspect is in this investigation, because all of that at this point is unknown, at least to us. But again, the scene, it's quiet, it is calm, but it is still very active inside of this perimeter. Eric, if you could zoom in as far as you can, just to get an active look at what's happening at 25th and Garfield, where this officer-involved shooting unfolded. And we're still seeing those officers standing by. Not so many with the long guns still drawn, but we're seeing officers on every corner making sure that they are just concealing and they are locking down this scene, making sure that it is secure. We know that they are still, at least from the last update that we got from Milwaukee Police, that they are actively searching for someone in this area. There appears to be a manhunt going on. We saw earlier throughout many of our live shots officers running, the vehicles speeding by, because this scene is very hectic, quiet from at this stance here at 27th and Garfield, but inside behind this crime scene tape, they are working really hard to piece together everything that's happening. I want to take a look. Eric Litzheim, our photographer, we've been out here for several hours now. He's showing me, he's zooming in, he's seeing the officers. You can see them standing there talking to each other. It's going to be a long night as they work to figure out exactly what happened, what transpired, if they look for the suspects in this investigation. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
We're going to ask you a couple questions, though.
Yeah.
One, tell us again why you're moving. Is somebody from the department saying you might want to go to this new location? You've moved a couple times. Is that a reporter's hunch? Is that our assignment desk giving you information? Or are police on the scene saying, hey, we're moving over here now? Can you shed some light so the viewers who might be wondering why you've moved around to different locations, tell us why you're there specifically?
Ted, you know it's important when you get to a crime scene to work this crime scene, so we want to bring our viewers every angle of what's happening out here different. As soon as we hear something or we see more activity in a certain place, that's maybe where we want to move. It's a coordination between our team members back in the studio that are, you know, seeing reports of different things that are happening and saying, hey, maybe this is the area that you need to be, because the scene is very fluid. And again, for a while we were the only crew here, so we were having to move because there's a lot to show. Even if you look all the way down at North, a very busy road has been blocked off for hours now as police conduct their investigation. So there's the perimeter of this investigation, it's very wide. There's a lot to take in, and so that's why we have been moving.
Gotcha.
If we have the time to move, to just make sure that we're showing all that we can.
My second question, Mary and I both have separate sources who tell us that these officers were ambushed, that this suspect was hiding in wait for them. We don't know specifically where. We don't know if it was between a house, in a yard, in a bush. Have you been able to talk? A number of officers have gone by, and their job is focused right now on finding this person. Have you been able to talk to any of them off camera who have shed some more light on that? Because it's got to be absolutely harrowing to be looking for a suspect who, if our sources are correct, and I believe them to be, shot two officers in an ambush style.
I've only had a chance to speak with one officer. Our conversation was very brief, but he was just telling me, because I'm wondering, different things are popping up. Officers are, sporadically running different places. So I asked, hey, are all of these different things connected? Because at this point, this crime scene is expanding at least 2 to 3 blocks each way. And so he said, yes, this is all connected. We're doing our job, and we are conducting this investigation.
Before I get to the question, I was going to ask you, when you ran out of the newsroom, Bria, around 9-ish, you went to 30th in Lisbon, then you went to the 25th in Garfield. So are you saying now that you have confirmation these two shootings at these two separate areas are connected?
No, Mary, I want to make that clear. He was not confirming that. He was just confirming some of the other activity that was further away from the crime scene. I was wondering why things were so widespread. Sure. But it appears that they may be looking for someone down there. Again, that's just speculation, but that's where we saw that FBI agent running towards. We saw a lot of officers literally flying, speeding past us, heading towards that 27th and Vine. Right. But to Ted's point, when to talk about the maybe the circumstance of the officers potentially being ambushed, from what you guys were hearing, possibly from sources, the neighbors that we had a chance to talk to, everyone who just said they heard the shots described it being close range and back to back. So this was, at least from what we're hearing from the neighbors who heard 10 to 12 shots, or the gentleman who was, cleaning up here at the school, mopping the floor, when he said he heard a boom, and then immediately after he heard the loudest shot he's ever heard in his life. So again, this is very close range, and this was a very, from what we're hearing from all accounts from neighbors, this appears to be some sort of shootout.
Okay, Bria, we're going to just cut away from you. Of course, continue to work the scene there. We'll come back, but we want to head over to 27th right now in Vine, and that's where we find our Bill Miston, who has arrived on scene. And Bill's still an active scene behind you. Have you talked to anybody? What have you learned?
Well, Mary, I want to just make a slight correction there. I'm not far from where Bria is at 27th and Garfield. I can speak to what I did see at 27th and Vine as I was getting to the scene and cutting through the neighborhood. I saw between 20 and 30 officers heading east on Vine from 26th Street as they then were looking through yards. A canine was with them as well. They were looking through yards and appeared to be clearing yards, and following that phalanx of police officers as they were looking through these yards was one of Milwaukee Police Department's armored vehicles, and those officers then continued clearing one block and then heading down another block. And as I was in this area, police were taping off that street from, I believe it was Lisbon, to the south. So to give you an idea of how large this area is, or how much area officers are searching at this hour, we do know that north is just a block north of us. And behind me right here is Lloyd. You go beyond that, then you have Brown, and a little bit farther down Vine, and then Lisbon. So that area here along 27th Street. We know that the shooting happened a few blocks east on 24th and Garfield, and that police were searching a neighborhood 4 or 5 blocks south of that, where I saw those officers about 30 minutes ago when I was arriving here on scene. So that's the type of scale that we can at least see from this vantage point as to where officers are searching right now at this hour. Even as I was in that neighborhood, police officers were taping off that street. I was trying to get around, and once that street was taped off, I couldn't get through any further, so had to find another way around. So What we do know, again, Milwaukee Police Association saying that 2 officers were shot tonight and are at the hospital right now. So we're hoping to get an update from Milwaukee Police and get some information about what exactly happened tonight. For now, we're here at 27th and Garfield, and we'll continue to try and get more information as it becomes available.
Bill, the same instructions to you that we have all of our staff members. You see something, you wave us down, we'll cut in and go right to you. Mary, let's look at this scene on our monitor. Bill, thank you so much. We want to show the monitor. It's a growing contingent of officers at Froedtert. Sorry to do this to you, Director, but I just noticed that shot as we pulled out. Even more officers are gathering there right now.
Certainly growing. As we continue to watch that scene at Froedtert and, of course, talk to Bill and Bria, we do want to bring you some sound from a person who lives in that area, exactly how they're feeling tonight. There's a large swath there, a very residential area, and no doubt neighbors, people who live there, are concerned about what is going on, what they saw and what they heard. Let's give a listen to one of the neighbors.
Like, sitting down, relaxing, eating me a hot dog, and I heard a boom, 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 up close.
How many shots do you think you heard?
About 12.
Could you see or did you hear what direction they were coming from?
Oh, no, man. I know over this way, 25th, over this area. So I
What-
gotta go to work, so I come this way.
What did you hear after the shots were fired?
All I heard was police cars swarming. Just crazy. Shut down everything. Stopped everybody.
And that gentleman spoke to our Bria Jones about an hour or so ago. Bria is now reporting that officers have moved closer to Starm's early childhood. You'll remember she had a custodian there. He is the gentleman who described 2 blasts, the second of which he describes as the loudest gunshot blast he had ever heard. Police are now over at Starm's Early Childhood Development Center. We don't know if that's because the suspect has been spotted there or whatever. But again, we can't stress enough to you, if you were just joining us and you were watching in these neighborhoods, and we obviously understand the curiosity. If there is somebody out there that police are looking for who is suspected of shooting 2 officers, please be careful in the neighborhood. I know curiosity gets the best of many of us, but right now, you got to let these men and women do their jobs. And I'll say this, Mary, you and I have covered enough stories where somebody is harboring somebody. And as we learn every week on Wisconsin's Most Wanted, Ashley Shears does these stories, and very often there are people who get in trouble for harboring these guys. And when they're known to be the suspect and they're known to be the subject of a police manhunt. So, just a word to the wise on that. If you're harboring somebody, you're now in this thing too.
Well, you can't help but think if the suspect is still at large at this hour, that he is getting some help, he or she, or even if there's more than one person. It's been a couple of hours now since this shooting where police are still looking for this suspect involved in this shooting and this, from what we're hearing from sources, from this ambush. You're looking here at Froedtert Hospital, where, as we keep telling you, there is a growing number of officers there at the scene, just standing there waiting for some word. It would appear, talking amongst themselves. We have not heard from any officials at this point. Police officers, the mayor. We do know that MPD Chief Jeffrey Norman is out of town at Texas on official business, but we have not heard from any law enforcement officers at this point. We did receive a statement from the Milwaukee Police Association a short time ago, but aside from that, we have not heard any official words. So we are awaiting that. We are anticipating it. We are hoping to glean some more insight into exactly what went on tonight. But we do know this all unfolded. If you're joining us now here at 12:37, we're going to continue to stay with this coverage. It's all unfolded right around 9 o'clock. Started at 30th and Lisbon. That's where the first breaking news came in. Again, we don't know that this is related.
And we can't stress that enough.
We can't stress that enough.
We know there was a fatality there.
We know there was a fatality. That was the first source of breaking news. But then immediately things shifted to what could be an isolated incident at 25th and Garfield, where that's where we were told the 2 officers were involved in the shooting, and they were taken, as we showed video a little bit earlier, rushed rather, there to Froedtert Hospital to be treated for injuries. And we do not know the severity of the injuries. We do not know if anybody else was injured. The only thing we know is that suspect, last we were told, is still at large. Right now, we're going to head back into the newsroom with Ben Handelman. And Ben, we know you're looking at social media. You know that you're monitoring the email, of course. And you talked a little bit about some of the crime that has gone on just in the month of June here in the Milwaukee area. Interesting, you had pointed out, though, some of those crime statistics.
Yeah, and we were talking about that homicides up 10% year to date in the city, but overall shootings, non-fatal shootings, actually down in the city of Milwaukee. We were just saying the police chief was out of town, and we talked about this earlier in our coverage. Earlier tonight, the Fire and Police Commission actually approved Jeffrey Norman for a new 4-year contract. It was going to be big news in our newscast tonight until all of this kind of unfolded really right after that happened. I've just got a new message in posted from the Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin. That is the union that represents more than 4,000 firefighters from all across the state of Wisconsin. They have posted a picture of a Milwaukee police badge with a black band across it. That is an indication, something often used in law enforcement to show a department in mourning. And so the firefighters showing their respect for the Milwaukee Police Department, which is a police department in mourning tonight after 2 of their officers were shot, currently at Froedtert. We did take that picture, and whatever we can take it again, of all the officers that are gathered at Froedtert. What's interesting, I think, is that these are officers at the hospital. There are so many officers right now still working the scene, and they're going, as Bill reported, house by house in that neighborhood, going through backyards. The canines are out. They've got drones up above. Very active scene still in the city of Milwaukee. The last we heard from the Milwaukee Police Department 43 minutes ago was the last time we heard from them, just saying any details regarding a media briefing will be provided via a media advisory. And the police department had earlier said that they're not going to hold a media briefing until the scene was not active. Well, that's not the case right now. As Bill Miston was just reporting, this scene is still very active. And Bria Jones is reporting the scene has been expanding throughout the night, that it is a very large scene down there in the blocks around 25th and Garfield. So this is the news release we had from the police department saying Milwaukee police, this was earlier tonight, saying they're at the scene of a critical incident at the area of North 25th Street and Garfield Avenue. Please avoid the area as there is still a threat to the public. This is still an active scene, and officers are searching for a suspect in the vicinity. And then they said the media briefing will be provided via a media advisory, which is just a note to us telling us they'll give us a heads up before they release information. But yeah, that's the only news we've gotten from the Milwaukee Police Department. And I'm not surprised, guys, because everything we're seeing from our images shows it is still active. They are still working right now, even though it has been hours since this shooting.
Ben, I want to go back to the statement, and please clarify who it was from, the Wisconsin Professional Firefighters Association?
The Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin. Yep, PFFW.
And they posted the symbol of a badge with the black ribbon over it, which is a heartbreaking thing. But I need to point out that the Milwaukee Police Association statement that came in to our newsroom a short time ago at 12:18 does not mention that an officer has passed away. And I go back to this particular line: these officers face unimaginable suffering, and they have long roads ahead of them. And this is the problem with reporting something like this. And here it is, that whole statement in its entirety. There's no mention there that an officer has passed away.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I'm not sure if the firefighters just posting that saying that's, you know, that's
exactly. So I want to be really
in mourning, as in like we know that people have been shot, but yeah, we're not drawing the conclusion. That's a really good point, Ted.
Yeah, because I want to be careful, because they may know, they may have their own connections, but if the Milwaukee Police Association has not said it about one of their officers, I don't know why this group wasn't. I'm not disparaging this group. What I'm trying to do is say, we don't know yet, folks. We're waiting on a news conference. All of this is going to get straightened out in the next hour, we hope, because we keep hearing words that we're not far away from a news conference. We keep getting updates on that. But I do. Yeah, go ahead.
Ted, I just want to show you. This is video from earlier tonight. So this was around the 9 o'clock hour at Fox 6 News at night. This is the original homicide scene at Lisbon, right?
Right.
This is the moment the officers are getting the call that there's been a police shooting at 25th and Garfield. Let's just listen in. And guys, we were talking to neighbors in the area that live there by 25th and Garfield, where those officers are headed. I mean, look, there's more officers running away from the scene. This was, again, in the 9 o'clock hour, as we're at one homicide scene, and police are getting the call that some of their colleagues have been shot. People in the neighborhood said it sounded, again, like there were cops coming from every direction, and just a wave of police officers as they were rushing to that scene, which makes the fact that nobody's been arrested, as far as we can tell, even more surprising, because just how many people were rushing there. Here's a witness sound. Listen.
You know, sitting down, relaxing, eating me a hot dog, and I heard a boom, 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 up close.
How many shots do you think you heard?
About 12.
Could you see or did you hear what direction they were coming from?
Oh, no, man. I know over this way, 25th, over this area.
And
I gotta go to work, so I come this way.
What did you hear after the shots were fired?
All I heard was police cars, swarming, just crazy, shut down everything, stopped everybody.
Swarming. And Ted and Mary, you both said, it appears from all the reporting that we've had so far, this happened really quick, and you guys have reported from your sources that it appears that these officers were ambushed.
Yeah, that's what we were hearing. We've heard from multiple sources that there was an ambush there on these officers there, and that suspect, and every indication.
Hold on, guys. I'm getting a report here. 27th and North? Okay, it's in my Slack. We're just getting an update finally from MPD, have just sent something out. So I'm going to just pull this up here as we've got it live here. Okay. Milwaukee police are at the scene of a critical. Okay, no, they've got a media staging area. So MPD 27th North, they're going to have a media staging area. They do expect a briefing, guys, in 30 to 45 minutes. So that would appear that they've kind of secured that scene for us, and that we should be hearing from the police department in 30 to 45 minutes. We won't hear from the police chief. We know he's in San Antonio unless he's going to call into us. But okay, so we're about 30 minutes away from our first press briefing of the night.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. We'll continue to check in with you in the newsroom, and we'll continue to check in with Bill and Bria there at the scene. And we also have a monitor right here that we're watching Froedtert, and Kim will give us a wave if there's any activity there. But again, the officers there, it looks as though just standing and waiting for information, just talking amongst themselves, and you know, lending obviously support both emotionally and thereby their show of support to their brethren there. So, and you know, that is what they do at this point. So, again, we are waiting for that police briefing right now to come in, hopefully within about a half hour. That's what they're saying, at least initially.
And you would have to assume, except for the motorcycle officers who led that contingent of cars out there and the ambulances out to Froedtert, you'd have to think many of them, if not all of them, the rest of them you're seeing here are off duty, coming after their shift has ended, or maybe coming in early before their shift begins. Don't know the status of all of them, but they are gathered out there at Froedtert, and their numbers are growing, and that's where our Kim Murphy is, so we'll be checking in with her as well. But now we wait. 12:45, they said they had a press conference coming in about a half hour, so we're looking at 1:15 to 1:30, and we're going to stay on the air with you until that, because this is a developing story and an ever-changing story in terms of information that we're getting. So we will do another round robin here with our reporters, but we want to let Bill, is it 27th and North? Okay. Bill Biston has moved from where he was just a short time ago at 27th and Garfield. Hasn't moved far. He's moved to 27th and North, and that's where the staging area for the media will be. Bill, are you ready to talk to us and tell us what you're seeing there?
Yeah, just to reiterate kind of what I said at the last time I joined you, is the area in which police have this area bounded by 27th Street on the west. I believe even some blocks to the west of that, but farther to the south. I'm at 27th and North right now. I'm going to step out of the shot here real quick, and photojournalist Rissa Connor, just to give you an idea of what is going on behind us as we look east. You can see that North Avenue here completely shut down. It looks like 1, 2, 3, at least 4 blocks to the east. We know that the shooting happened at 24th and Garfield, so that is just 3 blocks over and 1 block down, and this is where we're told that there is going to be a briefing here, possibly within the next half hour, with police officials. But as you can see, police cars, even county sheriff's vehicles, a number of county sheriff's deputies are out here this evening as well, assisting Milwaukee police. What I can tell you, what I saw going on about an hour ago when I arrived on scene, was probably about 20 to 30 officers near 27th and Vine, 26th and Vine, walking east on Vine, looking in yards, followed closely by an armored vehicle, Milwaukee Police armored vehicle, as they looked through yards and then continued down the block. So at least about an hour ago, we knew that police were searching this area. There's been no indication that a person or persons involved in this shooting have been arrested, but we hope to get some more of that information here within the next half hour at 27th and North.
All right. Well, Bill, thank you for the update there. We'll continue to let you just work the scene, and we'll cut away to you for updates as warranted. We really appreciate it. We can get to Bria Jones right now. Let's go back to Froedtert, and while we try to get Bria Jones there, and just look at, again, what appears to be just a growing number of officers there on the scene. Nothing has really changed from the last time that we brought you this scene, but officers there just standing outside waiting for word. Again, we keep reiterating, we don't know if this is a shift change or just officers coming to show their support, perhaps both, as they also, it would appear, are waiting for more information, just as so many of us are at this point. Coming into 12:50 right now, the 12:50 hour, so let's bring you up to speed. Again, all this unfolding just around 9 o'clock tonight. And all we know for sure is that the 2 officers at some point during this altercation, this incident at 25th and Garfield, officers were shot. We have not gotten an update on their condition, and we just know that they are there at Froedtert Hospital, that level trauma 1 facility, and we have not heard if any other injuries were reported. We do know that there is a suspect at large. We have not been told otherwise, and that's the only official word that we have been given, at least at this point. Again, we have Bria Jones on the scene. We just heard from Bill Miston, and our Kim Murphy is there outside of Froedtert. We are awaiting a briefing. This will be the first official briefing since all this unfolded some hours ago. That is going to be heading our way, hopefully within the next half hour. Again, we have not heard anything from Mayor Cavalier Johnson. We do know that Chief Jeffrey Norm is out of town. You know, Ted, you and I have been in front of these scenes
too many times.
Too many times. Usually at this point, this is a little, we understand the chief is out of town. Usually at this point, we have heard something, not to say it's not that uncommon, but we've heard something official. And so it begs the question, you know, how much of this are they still piecing together? How much of this information do they not want to give away, because the suspect very well could be privy to this, could be watching us right now?
Sure, and that's a very fair point, and that comes up in hostage situations. How much do you reveal about police location? But the fact of the matter is, there's a dangerous person out there, a person who didn't think twice about shooting 2 police officers. So if you're out in the neighborhood and you spot him, and her or whoever this person may be, why do you think you're any safer than a police officer? So they have shared some information. They said there's a critical situation, urging people to stay away from the area. Now we did hear from the police union saying, you know, the city has become far too violent, quote, that the violence has gotten out of control. We've had 5 officers killed in the line of duty over the past 7 years. Dozens of our officers have been shot at while trying to serve the neighborhood, and that is the frustration that police bring up time and time again. We're in this neighborhood trying to protect you, and you're letting someone shoot at us, and you're not helping us find that person, the frustration level is through the roof, and it's understandable why it's through the roof. Now, we've also just heard a few moments ago, as you mentioned, that we are looking at a police briefing. At 12:45, we were told it's going to be a half hour to 45 minutes, so we are not really close to that yet. So we'll continue to go around the horn. But Mary, the question is, and I see your point, what you're saying is usually we've heard something more than this. The chief's out of town, so that might be a factor, right? Mm-hmm. The mayor's probably trying to get everything up to speed that he can find out about this. And you have the families of two officers and loved ones of two officers you don't want to speak too soon, right? You have to consider what their families are going through. And it's just, frankly, it's nothing short of hell of what these families are going through. The anxiety, the fear, the uncertainty they're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the families of these officers who are out looking for this person also have to be feeling it. We all, I'm not saying we all, everyone in this newsroom knows somebody on the police department, are friendly with them or friends with them, care about them. And so we're watching this as people who know men and women in blue and know, well, we don't know, but we've heard from them the horror stories that they face.
Yeah, the scenes that we have seen here, you know, just all too common, and kind of the juxtaposition here that we are seeing. You know, we were all kind of, after we've heard about this uptick in violence at the beginning of June, and calls for peace and calls for unity, and this outpouring and outreach from community officials, community activists, neighbors in the community, and law enforcement and elected officials for peace. And now you are seeing, you know, the complete opposite here, just less than 20 days from a real uptick in violence at the start of the summer. And so, again, there will be renewed efforts for the community to get involved. Ted, you talked about some of the concerns about understaffing with the police department, and we have heard impassioned pleas from Mayor Cavalier Johnson that they need help from the community to speak up, to look out for their neighbors, and to call or report something that they may be seeing, because again, the violence, as this MPA statement went out earlier saying this is out of control, we need to get our arms around this and make it stop.
Bria Jones is back going to join us from 27th and Vine right now. Bria, Bria's at 27th and Garfield now? Bria,
yes, I am at
Bria, join us, please, and tell us where you are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ted, right now we are live at 27th and Garfield. There is still this, what appears to be this manhunt underway. Our last check from Milwaukee Police, I believe the email came in at 11:18. It says, please avoid the area as there is still a threat to the public. There's an officer standing here with his long gun drawn. You can see this at every corner of this crime scene. Eric, if we can come back this way, I want them to show another officer. If you walk past an alley near 25th and Garfield, you will see an officer standing at every corner, every street, every alley. Some people are getting frustrated. I just talked to a young woman who was working at Summerfest. She's just got off and she's like, I cannot get anywhere close to my home. So that's something that a lot of people are dealing with as police make sure that they lock down and secure this investigation. Every corner, you could see the flashing lights, the crime scene tape moving in the flashing lights, just because this is a sea of blue and red lights, and it's also a web of crime scene tape that is just encompassing this entire area. I want you to take a look back over this way, more towards 27th and Garfield. This is the epicenter of this investigation. Just two blocks down at 25th and Garfield, this is where Milwaukee police say that two officers were shot in the line of duty. Again, this is a very critical incident, or at least rather, let me correct that. That's what we're hearing from the Milwaukee Police Association, that two officers were shot in the line of duty here. This is at 25th and Garfield. We just saw police officers maybe about 20 to 25 minutes ago. They were near Storm's early childhood school. We saw them with their flashlights. We saw them canvassing this area. I did have a chance to speak with a custodian who was actually working inside of the school when he told me that he heard something that sounded like thunder. Just take a listen to what he had to say when he described the moments that he heard those gunshots.
I heard a pump shotgun. The first one, they got out one round. It boom. And I kept on doing what I was doing. And then I heard another one. Boom. Just real loud. I mean, this was loud. I never heard one this loud though. And then shortly after them two shots, I seen about 15 cars come, 15 SWAT cars going down Garfield. I don't know if they were turning because I was in that, but what I do know that they went straight down, and I thought they were gonna keep going. And then once they got so packed down there, they right in front of my school, a whole lot of them.
So you were in here, you were cleaning up?
I was cleaning up, yeah.
Again, that was a custodian that was inside of Storm's Early Childhood Center. About 20 minutes ago, we saw at least, I would say, about 6 officers going around the school with their flashlights. They're making sure that they are carefully canvassing this entire area, just making sure that they properly conduct their investigation as we wait, as they work to learn exactly what happened, and as we wait to get the details from detectives who are conducting their investigation. Eric, if we turn this way, we can take a look down 27th. There has been a lot of activity on 27th. This is closer to 27th and Lloyd, just across, or rather up the hill. There's a slight hill there heading towards 27th and Vine. That's where my colleague Bill Miston said he saw military-style vehicles. He saw K9 units. He saw people canvassing that area, just making sure that they went from yard to yard. Again, I can't stress this enough. These officers are making sure that they leave no stone unturned as they conduct this investigation. We're hearing from the Milwaukee Police Association that 2 officers have been shot in the line of duty. We are working to learn the extent of their injuries. But again, this is what we're seeing all night long. We are seeing these cars coming out. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Bria, thank you. We are going to shift gears here and go to Sam Kramer, who has the Milwaukee Police Association president with him. He's interviewing him right now. We want to know what he's saying.
They just keep shooting at us, trying to kill us. It's going to happen. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. And the violence has to stop.
We were just with you guys last week or 2 ago when an officer was shot in the leg. You made a similar plea at that time and the days following that. Do you feel that message is falling on deaf ears?
It is. I mean, it just keeps happening again. I mean, 2 of my officers shot today, and one of them was very critical. I mean, we almost lost an officer tonight. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Again, 4 officers shot in the last 5 months. Like, what is the city's trying to do? Like, what is the point of all this? Like, I'm going to start shooting at them.
What do you mean by that? We've heard through a variety of sources ambush. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it was an ambush. So the coward tried to ambush my police officers tonight and almost took the life of one of them. This has to stop. This has to stop. Trying to kill police officers in the city of Milwaukee is not acceptable at all.
Are you aware of anything that led up, or just quite literally an ambush for no apparent reason?
All I have is it was an ambush. So I know they're going to come out and do a press conference, so I got to go meet with them. So we'll see you guys soon, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, Sam Kramer here, a very impassioned president of MPA. I want to get right to the heart of this. He is saying it was an ambush and one officer was nearly killed. So is the presumption there that this officer both officers are still alive and getting treatment?
Hi there, Mary. Not sure when you guys jumped on with us, but Alex Ayala there, president of the Milwaukee Police Association, said he was able to talk with one of the officers over at Froedtert Hospital. One of them, he was not. The way he described that officer's condition was very critical. Obviously, you can imagine the trauma center there at Froedtert, obviously it's a focus anytime a shooting happens. It's ramped up when a police officer is the victim here. But he is, talking about Mr. Ayala there, super passionate at this hour, just talking about how many officers have gone through this recently, as well as over the last couple of years, and certainly it's reached a breaking point, not just for him, but for the men and women that wear this uniform and wear this badge.
Where was his anger, his rightful anger, directed? At the people who did this clearly, called him a coward, said he ambushed two of my officers. At the politics of it all, at the lack of, I guess you could say, the apathy on some people who don't want to do something, where's his anger directed, did you sense?
It sounds a bit all the above, Ted. Like you mentioned, he described the suspect as a coward. You know, those are strong words, certainly words that we wouldn't often hear from the official police department or Chief Norman. Certainly, there is an undertone to this story, right? We've mentioned it over the last couple of hours. Staffing has been a problem. Recruitment retention has been a problem in a city with a limited budget, in a state legislature that has provided money to bolster that department, requirements on the number of officers they have to get, but still they are struggling to meet those goals because of other issues that are in their way. I do think there is also just this level of frustration, perhaps animosity, with people that are willing to carry a weapon pointed at an officer and shoot at them. That we often hear that there's this lack of respect these days. Not sure what happened to allow that to happen, but that's a main sticking point of frustration for people that wear this badge and the people that advocate for them, including the police union, that they don't feel that their profession is respected as it once was.
We came to you mid-interview, so I want to go back and, if you could go back to the beginning of that interview, what does he know about a suspect? Has there been anyone taken into custody? Does he know? Did he say? Is he waiting for the news conference? What?
He didn't mention that, but really I think the announcement of a press conference provides us some, it almost says it without saying it, right? We don't know anything, but the way that Milwaukee Police Department operates generally, they wait for a suspect to be in custody. They kind of gather what they need. They review some of the body camera video in the incident command post. Then they come out here, provide that information now that the scene would be secure. Again, we don't know that in this case, but that is kind of the MO for how they've handled recent officer involved, or in their words, critical incidents. Anytime an officer uses force, that thus raises that scene to a higher level, not just within the police department, but the Milwaukee area investigative team.
We just want to make sure, we want to make sure we're clear because we joined you halfway. Did he say that a suspect was in custody? It sounds like that suspect is still at large from when we joined you and heard him speak to the suspect.
He did not say anything specifically about custody. He just said that this suspect gave his officers no chance and that they ambushed the two officers.
Okay, and stress that both, excuse me, both are still alive. He said we almost lost an officer tonight. So that's good news that both those officers are still alive. The extent of their injuries, we don't know. He was off to this news conference. You're not far from there, right? You're right near the staging area, right?
Oh, we're right here.
Yeah, that's where it's going to be.
We're right here, 27th and North.
Do you see any signs of it forming?
Set up over here. That's reporters and a number of cameras here. So we're on the sidewalk looking down North Ave. And so, yeah, this was going to be exactly where it's happening. I believe he actually told us that he was at Froedtert, checking in on the officers, and then came over here in a park outside the scene, which is massive. Walk inside, probably confer, with Milwaukee Police Department brass, and then they'll walk over here together. I will note, though, on these critical incidents, we don't often hear from the Milwaukee Police Association. So that is also an indicator of perhaps how serious things have risen in terms of politically, in terms of, just the tension within, whether it's at the city or the state level, but also just trying to recruit and retain their officers. Yeah. So
Alex,
this certainly provides a different feeling.
Yeah, Alex has been very outspoken in this. Is very visible as head of the union. Do you get an indication of who's speaking? We're pretty certain it's not the chief. I mean, there's no way he's back from Texas already.
Right. It would have to have gotten the first flight immediately out there. I know that we have heard from other assistant chiefs in other incidents, particularly over the weekend, including Assistant Chief Nicole Waldner. I don't know if she's going to be involved in this. Assistant Chief Craig Sarno was on a call with the Fire and Police Commission meeting, I should say last night, So, you know, I think that they would first turn to those assistant chiefs. Imagine Mayor Cavalier Johnson will be involved in that. And then again, Alexander Ayala, president of the Milwaukee Police Association as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were saying that we have not heard from the mayor all night, but we knew that he was en route at some point. But again, you can imagine the conference that they're all having to bring us the information. And again, we do need to underscore that there are families involved here. So those two officers, I'm sure they are just being abundantly cautious and out of full respect to them. You know, just being very cautious with him. Sam, what you can't see right now is we have a camera on Froedtert, and it looks as though there is some movement from the large group of officers going toward Froedtert, moving toward the direction of the emergency room. We may want to cut over there and then come back to you, Sam, but we haven't seen much movement until right now. So let's take a full picture here of Froedtert.
We want to show that.
Yeah.
We also want to point out that over Sam's shoulder, a couple of SUVs just pulled up. So that's a sign that somebody from Brass is there. But while we're watching all this, Ben Handelman is in the newsroom. And Ben, we understand you have something to share.
Just got a new update, guys. We're getting more clarification on when the media briefing will be. 1:20. And look, you're seeing all these officers now walking into the hospital. Of course, this is Froedtert. So I just wanted to let you know we're 11 minutes away now from the press conference. But you mentioned the chief's out of town, so we're not expecting him. It's unclear who will talk. And I got to say, guys, out of all the incidents that we've reported on, you guys brought this up. This was really interesting. I've never seen Alex Ayala show up on a scene before and just walk up to the cameras like that. Very interesting. And what's different, I think, about this scene from some of the past tragedies, what we've covered, was this manhunt that was occurring that's kind of delayed the information coming from Milwaukee police. I mean, Mary, you said, you know, it's been a while. But again, we haven't had, I'm just going back through some of the tragedies. A lot of those have wrapped up almost instantly, and this one did not. And but look at all the police officers walk inside now, looking up the ramp there at Froedtert Hospital. So here we go. We're less than 10 minutes now away, guys, from that police briefing.
Ben, we haven't seen much movement from those officers. They were gathering. It looks like they were waiting for word. And now the question is, you know, are they being told, obviously, to come toward the area there where they're perhaps maybe going to be led into a room, into an area where they can all be briefed, where they can all congregate. You kind of wonder here what this sudden movement is. It's just happened in the last minute.
Or maybe it's just, hey, like, gather here. I've got some information for everybody.
Thinking,
right,
yeah.
Let's gather close. That was very interesting, though, from the MPA president. Did you hear what he said? I was able to talk to one of my officers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, guys, that's the first indication that, I mean, because the early reports from both of the officers who were shot were not good.
Exactly.
So he did provide some very good news when he just talked to Sam there, saying at least one of the officers he was able to talk to. I thought that was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah,
even more clear than his statement before about them both having long roads ahead of them.
Right. Yeah. We don't know their conditions, of course. We hope to hear that in 10 minutes when we get this briefing. But that's certainly, I think we're all just searching for a nugget of good news, of some positivity after this tragic evening. So that could be a good sign of things to come. But if you can just read the body language, you at home, my colleagues here, it looks as though they're getting an update right now, these officers who have come to Froedtert Hospital. Everybody's being very attentive, and it looks like they're perhaps either getting some instructions about what's next, or perhaps they're getting an update here on what's going on.
They're getting the police briefing before we're getting the police briefing.
It would
I think
appear
that's
that way.
As well they should.
You know, guys, they can't bring them all into the hospital, and, you know, Froedtert's still a working hospital, too, which I don't think people sometimes when we take these shots realize. Like, the emergency room's still open. You slice your finger and need stitches, like, you go through that door right there.
And Kim Murphy made the point before that they were stopping people near the entrance saying, if you're not hurt, if you're not injured, if you don't have an emergency, you're not getting anywhere close to this. So as we take a look at that, and I'm sorry to do this, can we go back to Sam Kramer's shot? Because as we were going away from him, I saw two SUVs pull up. And I'm wondering who was getting out of those. If we're closer, it's not possible. Just tell me it's not possible. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to.
and I'll build you some stuff.
And I'm hearing one of our producers talking to Ben.
Tell there's going to be some codes coming here in just a second.
Yeah,
So
and I don't know, can we take Sam's shot, guide?
Yeah.
Because we are seeing some movement for the first time for this press briefing that's just popped up here in the newsroom, and I want you guys to see this. So I don't know if our director can cut over to Sam's shot real quick here. There we go. So yeah, we're getting a lot closer here to the press briefing. You can see some members of the police department there now.
And there's Jeff Fleming.
Yeah, that's the mayor's spokesperson
on the
right there.
In the khaki jacket, yeah.
So we know we're going to probably hear from the mayor if Jeff Fleming's standing there.
All right. Well, let's head over to Bill Miston right now, who has some new information while we wait for this press briefing underway in just a few minutes. Bill, what have you learned?
Yeah, we were just moved a little bit farther east on North Avenue from 27th and North. We're now at 26th and North for where we're going to be having this press briefing in about expected 7 minutes. We just heard from one of the public information officers, Sergeant Efrain Cornejo, saying that Nicole Waldron with the Milwaukee Police Department, as well as Mayor Johnson, will be here. Kent Laverne, the Milwaukee County District Attorney, as well as Milwaukee Police Association President Alex Ayala, who you had heard from previously. So we are expecting those individuals to speak here in just a few short moments. So we'll be sure to bring you that once we get that.
So, Bill, you're getting a lot of information on that, and we'll learn this soon enough. But is there a suspect in custody that you know of? It seems to be the #1 question right now outside of the health of the officers.
Yeah, as of right now, I can't really speak to that, but I think Sam said a very good series of events or a rubric of how we've seen things like this happen before, where these types of briefings generally happen once they've been able to get enough information or evidence together to put out some information as to what exactly happened. So we're hoping to learn some more and whether or not there is officially a suspect in custody.
And hopefully that is an indication of that the emergency, the urgency of it, if it will, has been lessened by a suspect arrest. You'd have to think that they might not have a news conference until they made that arrest. But again, I'm just reading the tea leaves here and probably shouldn't do that. But we'll find out soon enough. We're about 5 minutes away from the start of it. Interesting, go down the list again. You said we have the mayor's going to speak. Kent Laverne, who is
Assistant
the
Chief
newly elected,
Nicole Waldron.
Nicole Waldron, who has been a longtime officer working her way up the ranks from patrol person to captain to now assistant chief. And again, the president of the union, Alex Ayala. Who told you, I don't want to say who told you all this, but you got a pretty good listing there. What was the mood of that information that was given to you? Is there any optimism we can glean from all of this, that we have the district attorney there and we have the assistant chief? I mean, you have to think there's some positive news coming.
You know, I wouldn't like to speculate about that, but what I can say, it is in times past under previous district attorneys, we didn't necessarily always see former district attorney John Chisholm out at scenes. However, with Kent Laverne being here, that indicates that maybe there is something else that is going to be announced as a part of this. So we'll have to wait and see what that is going to be.
Okay, yeah, I put you on the spot with that one. I apologize. So Bill Miston's there, 27th and North, where this news conference is about 4 minutes away, as we hope. And Bill, we're looking at you. We're also looking at Froedtert Hospital, where officers are seemingly, has been said, getting the briefing before the briefing. So they're being let in on what's happening here. Hopefully it's news that they want to hear. And we're a few minutes away. We're going to carry it all for you, of course. And then talk about what happens next here. What happens next is a long road of recovery for these officers who we're getting every indication are still alive.
Hey, Ted, it's Ben in the newsroom. We're about to see something I think is going to be really fascinating. Because you mentioned it, Assistant Chief Nicole Waldner is going to take the microphone. She's going to be put in a spot that few officers of her rank have ever been put in before, because this is the Assistant Chief. Again, if you've not been following the news throughout tonight, Police Chief Jeffrey Norman's in San Antonio, Texas. He's at a police conference for major cities in the U.S. representing the central region, the Midwest here. And so obviously he's still the man in charge, and he would 100% be looped in on everything that's happening in the city here tonight. but it's the assistant chief who's going to go before the microphone just out of necessity tonight. Again, that we don't really see when things like this happen, the assistant chief walk up. So that'll be an interesting moment we're about to see here.
Yes, and we've seen the assistant chief, Waldron, a number of times, including when she was a captain. She's had very important jobs throughout her time on the force. As we're all about to hear, she is very calm, very well-spoken, very much in command. And you're going to see that on display here in a few moments as she takes the place for the police chief, who is 1,000 miles away.
Has a lot in common with the police chief because they came up. I mean, she's been a police officer since 1996.
Right.
And yeah, so as we're seeing, here they come, that press conference. But yeah, her and the chief both started just as police officers, regular line of duty people, and came up in this department together.
Right. And Ben, as we kind of break away from that scene, we are looking here at Froedtert here, where it looks as though the briefing, if you will, from those officers has ended. And it looks like some of them are walking out. We don't know if they're leaving the area, but it looks as though whatever they were gathering, the information they were being told, that has ended. So again, we can presume that they were given the information that we are about to be given, because we see the officers that we talked about, the officials walking toward the staging area there right now that we are getting ready to listen to. This is the information that we have been waiting to hear all night on these two officers who were shot. You can see them making their way. It looks like Cavalier Johnson, the mayor, right off there to your left of the screen. And
that's Chief Waldron there,
right there,
in the glasses, carrying some sort of briefing book there.
Yep.
And I imagine she's going to be the first to speak, but we'll find out soon enough. She is the assistant chief of the Administration Bureau of the Milwaukee Police Department. As Ben mentioned, became a Milwaukee police officer in 1996. And there she is. Let's listen in.
I'm Assistant Chief Nicole, N-I-C-O-L-E, Waldner, W-A-L-D-N-E-R of the Criminal Investigation Bureau. Last night, Thursday, June 26th, at approximately 9:10 p.m., officers were sent to a subject with weapon call. While en route, it was upgraded to a shots fired. While the officers were approaching, they were unexpectedly fired upon in the alley of the 2200 block of North 24th Place. The officers were both struck and not able to return fire. Both officers have just over 6 years on the job. Our first officer is a 29-year-old, and he is currently at the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The second officer, a 32-year-old, is at the hospital, and he remains in critical condition. We are seeking a known suspect. It's active and ongoing, and the Milwaukee Police Homicide Division will be investigating the shooting. I want to thank the fire department, Froedtert Hospital, the sheriff's office for helping us out here and always being a partner to us, and all other law enforcement agencies that showed up to help with this very expansive scene and this horrible thing that is once again happened to our city and our police department. We're asking for prayers for both officers and their families, their classmates, and every officer on the street. I want to thank all the officers that came in on their off days. They came in out of shift. They came in on vacation just to take all the other assignments to keep Milwaukee safe so that we could be here to investigate this crime, and while the two officers are in the hospital recovering.
Thank you, A.C. Waldner. She just mentioned, A.C. Waldner did, that we should be praying for our police officers, and that's exactly what I've been doing when I found out that the situation here happened. And it's a sad day. It's a very sad day, because no officer, no person in law enforcement should ever be fired upon. Never. It is never okay. It is never appropriate. It is never the right thing to do to fire on our police officers. I think a lot of people forget, or they take for granted perhaps, that when incidences arise in our community, where you need somebody to go in to protect the health and well-being of a neighborhood, to protect the well-being of citizens, that it's the police, it's the brave men and women of this department that walk into those situations. That's exactly what happened here. Exactly what happened here. I commend those citizens. I commend those citizens who said to the police officers that there was a problem in their neighborhood. And I commend those officers who I have been praying for stepping in, doing the right thing, working to protect this city and its citizens. It's a sad day when officers are fired upon. Question that I am continually asking myself when instances like this arrive: what are we doing? What are we doing to make sure that our officers are safe? Is everybody here doing all that we can to make sure that our officers are safe? Not just folks in government, folks in the community. You got parents out here who are watching over their kids, who want to make sure that their young people are doing the right thing. I commend those parents. I want other folks to step up too. I want everybody to step up to make sure that people they care about, people that are in their family, are doing the right thing. That they're not sending folks out on the street who are doing dirt, who are going to hurt people, who are going to put themselves in a situation where the police have to respond and then end up fired upon. It's not right. I also want to continue to ask folks, especially in other levels of government that control gun law, to make sure that all of us are doing what we can to make sure that the police can do their job and do it as safely as possible. I'm not seeing enough of that. I'm not seeing enough of that. I want our police officers to be safe. I want our community to be safe. I want our city to be safe. And I want everybody to do their part to make sure that that's the case. And for the person that shot at our officers, for the person or people who shot at the Milwaukee police officers that were injured, I want you to know you should turn yourself in. And if there's anybody out there who knows who shot at our officers, you should step up. You should call that in. And you can do it anonymously too. There's no excuse to sit on this information. Absolutely none. Absolutely none. Not when those officers step up to protect the city each and every single day. Turn them in. Turn them in. This is not right. It is absolutely not right. For the person that shot our officers, if you don't turn yourself in, for the people that know who shot our officers and refuse to turn them in, know that the men and women of this department, on this police force, they're going to find you, they're going to arrest you, and you're going to be brought to justice anyway. And I fully expect and support that when that person is caught, they will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. The fullest extent of the law. That's what is deserved in this situation. That's what's deserved here today. Speaking of that, we're joined as well by the District Attorney of Milwaukee County, Kent Lovern. I'm going to have him to come to the mic now. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Mayor. Well, everyone in our community deserves to live in safety each and every day, and that obviously includes the men and women who we entrust as police officers to help keep our neighborhoods safe. Everyone deserves to live in safety in our neighborhoods every day. And there is no excuse for the gun violence we see and have seen in our neighborhoods in this city and in this county. And the only appropriate response to that is to remove anyone who wishes to engage in that type of violence from our community. Plain and simple. That is the only appropriate response to that type of behavior. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers are with the two officers injured tonight. And we know there's a very thorough investigation underway as we speak. And I can assure you that the person who is responsible for this will be held accountable.
Hi, my name's Alex Ayala, and I'm the president of the Milwaukee Police Association. I first want to thank all the paramedics, the doctors, the nurses that treated the police officers at Froedtert tonight, and all the jurisdictions that are here helping the Sheriff's Department. I saw them out there. I really want to thank them for what they're doing. But enough is enough. Stop trying to kill my police officers. The violence against our police officers is out of hand. It's 4 officers in 5 months. It's ridiculous. And for that coward that ambushed my police officers, if you don't turn yourself in, we're going to hunt you down. We're coming to get you, and justice is coming for you.
Okay.
We'll take questions.
Are we looking for a single suspect? Multiple suspects?
At this point, we are still waiting to get into the scene and still investigate further. But at this point, we have 1 suspect that we're looking for, but that may change. It's fluid.
We saw 1 person detained. Was that part of it that you were looking for?
I can't say that. I don't know who you saw detained. Sorry.
But the person that you are looking for, you know who it is you're looking for.
We are looking for them, yes.
Are you able to share the extent of the injuries where those officers were shot?
No.
At this time, no.
Were the officers fired out upon by an automatic weapon, or can you describe the weapon at all?
We haven't recovered the weapon. It's I haven't set eyes on it, so I don't know that
a switch may have been used.
I don't have any indication of that right now. No.
As far as the conversation about officer safety, we heard a couple of weeks ago with Alex concerns about staffing levels. Either the mayor, assistant chief, we could just address the idea of, are there still concerns right now that too many officers are being asked to cover too few officers are having to cover too much space on a given shift?
I don't think that would have prevented anything today, because what the problem is today, and every time actually that we have all of you in front of us, the problem is too many people have guns. So I could put an officer on every single corner. That will not eliminate the amount of guns in the hands of people that shouldn't have them, right? All over the city. And unfortunately, it won't also help the fact that there is complete, utter disregard for anybody else other than themselves. Like, there's not even a second thought to fire on officers as they approach the alley doing their job. There's not when we were on 46th and Hampton, not a second thought to turn around with their ghost gun. So no matter where the officers are or how many there are just as many guns. And we have to focus that is the problem. And I need people to tell us. I need people to say they are tired of being afraid. They are tired of living in Milwaukee when we always have to worry about everyone carrying a gun out in the open. Just anywhere you go to the corner store, there are guns. You go to the barbershop, there are guns. I need people to call us and tell us so we can put a stop to it. That's the only thing. We can have more officers, and I know that the mayor is trying, and we are recruiting heavily. And look at how many officers are here. Everyone came in, right? But I guarantee you that within a block, there are more guns than there are officers on this scene.
Were those officers approaching by foot or by vehicle?
No, by foot.
And the suspect, is this suspect that you were aware of, or is the department aware of this person? Have they had interactions with this person in the past? Did he have paper on him? Did he have warrants?
I don't know any of that.
I'm sorry, the suspect. I didn't
Yeah.
say you.
I don't know. I don't want to release anything about the suspect just yet,
Are you able to share what district those officers were a part of?
Today, they were part of District 2.
Did they work for District 2?
Yes.
AC Waldner, can you explain just why you're not sharing information about the suspect? We're looking for somebody who's dangerous, possibly armed.
Yes, and because when we get him properly identified and I can put his name out there, then we will absolutely release it to the media.
Yeah,
but at this point,
guys.
it's premature.
Thank
Okay?
I just want to make sure you guys...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I can do it. I just want to make sure that you guys know, obviously, if anyone has any information regarding this investigation or the whereabouts of our suspect, that they should call 911, or to be anonymous, they should call Crime Stoppers at 224-TIPS. Thank you.
Considered a danger to the community at this point?
Unknown. I don't think it's a danger to the community.
Sorry, for Spanish Sound, that's
Yeah.
our guy Jerry there.
Okay.
We'd like to do it right there.
Okay.
Jerry will talk to you. Thank you.
Okay, so we've waited a long time for information, and we just got a lot of it. First things first, both officers are still alive. A 29-year-old officer with non-life-threatening injuries and a 32-year-old officer who is in critical condition, and not enough praise can be heaped on the men and women at Froedtert who have done remarkable work keeping both those officers, especially the 32-year-old officer, alive. We learned something else, Mary, about the suspect.
We learned that the suspect is still at large, and you heard from a very, very passionate MPA president, Milwaukee Police Association president, that we will hunt you down and we will look for you. So there was a call for that suspect to turn himself in. The assistant chief was asked, are there more than one suspects at this point? And she said it's early in the investigation. There may be, but at this point, they know who they are looking for, and they are coming after that one suspect that they know is still out there in the public. We want to take you back to the beginning of this, as we've been waiting for this information. At 9:10, officers were called and sent to a weapons call. When they approached an alley near North 24th Place, they were fired upon. Both officers were struck, that 29-year-old that Ted just told you about and 32-year-old. They did not fire. They were struck after the suspect was cornered them. They were in an ambush. The two officers are from District 2, and we are told that they are recovering. After that, we were told that at this point, they are still, again, looking for that suspect who was in the area, but you've heard the calls, the pleas for the public at this point to step up. If you know anything, you can call, remain anonymous, but police are urging, in fact, they are begging and pleading for anybody to call 224-TIPS. You can remain anonymous and help them catch this guy who is dangerous.
And the mayor, Cavalier Johnson, calling it a very sad day that no person in law enforcement should ever be fired upon. And he spoke directly to the shooter here. You should turn yourself in. And then he made a point that we made earlier, Mary. If you know who they are, you should turn them in. You're part of the problem now if you're harboring this person, if you know who they are and you're not turning them in. And Assistant Chief Nicole Waldner, head of the CIB, said something very stunning. She said, the problem here is too many guns. Too many people have guns. I'm quoting her now. This horrible thing has happened to our city. And she said, look at all these cops around you. Look at all the officers and all the firepower we have. And I guarantee you, and she made a hand gesture, circled the block, I guarantee you in a square block, there are more guns in the hands of civilians who shouldn't have them than there are in officers who are assembled at that point. I don't know if there's any way to verify that, but her point is well taken. There are too many people who shouldn't have guns, according to her, who have them. But we also learned, again, that there's a suspect out there. And this is the part where we thought maybe they weren't going to hold a news conference until this person was caught. That's not the case. The manhunt for this person continues.
All right, we have Bill Miston standing by. Bill, we want to check in with you. I don't think you have moved locations at this point. And were you able to hear the press conference there at your remote location?
Yeah, just recap again what that it was shortly after 9 o'clock that officers were dispatched to a subject with a weapon call that was in the 2200 block of North 24th Place. On their way, as those officers were on their way to that location for a subject with weapon call, it was upgraded to a shots fired call. Milwaukee police say that as the officers were approaching an alley in the 2200 block of North 24th Street, they were fired on. Both officers were struck. Neither of them were able to return fire. One of the officers that was shot is a 29-year-old officer. He is expected to be okay. A 32-year-old officer remains in critical condition. Both officers work out of District 2. but they were responding to a priority 1 call. With the dispatching system here in Milwaukee, if it's a priority 1 call, like a shooting, subject with a weapon type call, whoever might be closest and available gets sent to that call. We just got that clarified with the Milwaukee Police Department. Both officers have more than 6 years of service with the department. So that's some good news, obviously, that it appears that one of the officers is going to be okay, but both the mayor, the police department are asking for prayers for that one officer. We heard that officers came in on their off days. They came in on their vacations. They came in after shift. There's officers from the sheriff's department that are here assisting with this investigation. And that suspect is still on the loose. They didn't necessarily say that anyone is necessarily in danger, but that they know who, police department knows who it is looking for. They would not provide any details about that suspect's description, their name, whether they had previous run-ins with the police department, whether they had warrants or maybe were on active community supervision for any type of thing. They didn't want to reveal any of that information, but we're going to continue to try and dig down into this as the hours continue into the morning here. We'll send it back to you right now.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. We do want to point out one thing here as we get ready to go to Kim Murphy. Bill, thank you for that. As we come back to us here in the Anchor studio, we learned from Sam Kramer, who's on the scene, and he talked to the PIO officer there. We've been telling you about a location at 30th and Lisbon where we first went, where Bria Jones first went shortly before 9 o'clock tonight. Police are now saying they don't think that has anything to do with what happened at 25th and Garfield there. So we've been telling you all night, is there a connection? We now know that there likely is not. I wanted to point that new nugget of information out there.
Well, let's send it out to Froedtert Hospital. Kim Murphy is standing by. And Kim, it looked as though before we got briefed, the multitude of officers that were out there got a briefing. Are they still behind you? Can you bring us up to date on that scene?
Absolutely, Mary. I'm going to step out of the way, and you can see that the area is peaceful now. Officers have left, and you are correct that shortly before the media briefing happened at the scene, the officers who were gathered here, it appears, were briefed. We saw them move closer to the entrance of the emergency department. They were there for almost the duration of the briefing that we took live on air. And then after that, we started to see those squads one by one leave. We saw the motorcycle officers leave, and eventually those who were parked a ways away, they also left. But when we first arrived here, it was so unsettling. Something that you never want to see is a line of police officers, law enforcement with their lights on, headed to a hospital, a trauma center. And that's exactly what we saw when we first got here. We now know that those officers were here for support for 2 officers who were fired upon just doing their job. So the update from tonight is that we know that one of those officers still is very much in the fight for his life, a 32-year-old officer. But the scene right now is clear. But hearts are heavy and prayers are many for both of those officers and the long recovery that they have ahead.
There, that show of solidarity, brothers in blue, as they always say, was so evident there tonight. Kim, thank you so much for keeping an eye on that scene, and we really appreciate the update.
Murph, I have one question for you real quick, Murph. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Assistant Police Chief Nicole Waldner giving a lot of credit to the people there. We don't know if this office surgery, Froedtert's not saying anything, right? You're not getting any information out of Froedtert.
Froedtert's not saying anything.
Gotcha.
We're not actually, on Froedtert property.
Right.
They kept us at a distance, and so what we've been able to see is from a block across a pond, actually. And so all we know is that, there was a lot of support here from law enforcement, from not just the Milwaukee department, but many departments. And what we learned, we were also listening to that media briefing. We learned the information as you did.
Gotcha. All right, Kim Murphy out at Froedtert for us. Thank you. Again, 32-year-old officer in critical condition. We don't know if that person is in surgery right now or out of surgery, being prepped for surgery. We don't know, but we know that person is in critical condition. The 29-year-old officer with non-life-threatening injuries. So a bit of good news there tonight. The suspect still on the loose.
Yeah, that's right. Let's bring in Ben Handelman. He's in the newsroom right now. Ben, you heard the briefing, and have you had any new information come your way?
My big takeaway from that briefing, guys, the cops know who they're looking for. Police officers know who this guy is, and we heard the media members. Did you hear right at the end of the press conference, there was a little pushback like, hey, if you guys think this guy's dangerous, shouldn't you be releasing his name so we can tell the public to be on the lookout for this guy? And the assistant police chief there said, well, when I confirm everything, we'll bring it to you. My take was they don't want the help right now. I think they know who this guy is. The big thing is going to be, did you hear Alex Ayala in that press conference, how fired up and how emotional this is for the Milwaukee police officers? So as it seems like the night is kind of quieting down now, this manhunt is underway as we speak, and they're going to go to every known location of this guy, and if there's someone out there helping him, the passion of the police officers, I think they're going to throw the weight at anyone who might be helping this guy, as they're going to try and bring this to a conclusion as quickly as possible.
To your point on that, Glenn, Ben, we will hunt you down.
We will hunt you down.
That pretty much summarizes the passion of the MPA president, Alex Ayala, tonight.
The fact when he stopped there, did you notice the media? Okay, there's all the stations in town are there. There's other media there as well. There was almost a moment of pause that even the media members there, they let that anger breathe a little bit, taken back a little bit by those words, because the passion that was coming from the MPA president, very strong tonight. And again, it's a pretty rare. The Milwaukee Police Association represents all of the police officers, but their union members are not arm in arm with the Milwaukee Police brass. Oftentimes, actually, they're quite the opposite, as they've got to go head-to-head with the administrators, the police chief, when they're talking about raises, benefits, time off. We've seen it recently where they butted heads over how many officers are on staff. So these guys aren't locking arms often, but Alex Ayala, he represents all of the officers who are not in an administrative role. So he doesn't often speak at the press conferences when we're at a critical incident, because he would not, the union that would not be involved in the investigation in any way. They would be involved in representing their officers and making sure that they're getting the right treatment from the city, that sort of thing. So it was kind of interesting to see him at the podium tonight and give the most impassioned speech. Also interesting, Ted, you nailed it when we were going in about the assistant chief and her demeanor and how calm she is. But did you notice as this picked up how emotional it seemed to be for her? And even she started to get stern with her words.
Oh, absolutely. I wrote down a number of quotes that she said, particularly at the end when she was wrapping that conference, that said, you know, there are just too many guns on the street. And she said there are more guns right now than there officers are, you know, behind me. And she
on
said
this block,
yeah, on this block. She said there are just too many guns. And she talked about the push to get officers. She said, I can't put an officer on every block. There has been a very, very big push to get more officers, to recruit more officers. But she said, we need your help. If you know somebody who has a gun and they're not supposed to have a gun, and there's a lot of guns out there that shouldn't be, let us know. Give us a call. Help us out. It was a call to the community, no holds bar.
You see somebody at the grocery store who shouldn't have it. You see somebody at the barber shop, call us. Let us address the problem there and not in a dark alley in the 2200 block of North 24th Place where this guy was lying in wait for the two officers. But Ben, back to your point about not often seeing the union represented at those investigative updates that we just got. The message here was we can fight budgets next week. We can fight staffing next week. There's a united front here between the administration, the boots on the ground officers, the union, the district attorney's office, the mayor's office, all of who showed varying degrees of passion. You're not going to get Kent Lovert. Kent Lovert is a very he thinks about his words. He's very, I don't want to say soft-spoken because that's not fair, but he picks his words very carefully and keeps a very even keel. But you heard the mayor started to get really passionate. You heard the MPA president, and then you even heard Assistant Chief Waldner say too many people have guns who aren't supposed to have them. So, Ben, your point about there being a united front here tonight to get this guy is very apropos.
And despite some of the differences that we sometimes point out in our stories here on Fox 6, when it comes down to it, all these people, they agree on 95% of the same things. I mean, they have the same goals for the city. They believe in the same thing. It was interesting. We heard from the assistant police chief when she was talking about, I mean, look at all of the lights you are seeing on your screen right now. And these are all presumably Milwaukee police officers. You might be thinking, well, wait a second, who is covering the rest of the city right now? And the assistant police chief actually addressed that, saying that officers came in from their vacations or from their time off or from really everywhere to come in. And what did they do? They didn't rush to this scene. They rushed to do the job of policing the rest of Milwaukee, because those calls don't stop just because of this. And we mentioned, I mean, there was a homicide scene right before this happened. So all Milwaukee police officers really stepping up for the city tonight, guys.
Yeah, and we saw the sheriff's department come in as an aid and assist. So they certainly had some strength out there in numbers. But I think we can all agree that all the officials we heard from tonight made passionate pleas for this suspect to turn himself in. Clearly, they have a presence out there. They believe, we can assume, that this suspect is in a yard or in a house.
Mm-hmm. Somebody knows where he is.
Somebody knows
and
where
Ben's point about, we don't really need your help right now. We know who we're looking for. And if you know where he is, call us. But we're not ready to put his picture out there because we know who we're looking for. Thanks to our crew that stuck around tonight, Ben and Kim and Bill and Sam and Bria, of course, who was first on the scene. Almost 4 hours ago, this story has been developing, and we thank you for spending time with us here and going through this with us. Before we sign off, let's just recap what we know quickly. And Mary, why don't you start us off?
All right, let's start with the call that came in just after 9 o'clock, 9:10 to be precise. Officers were called for a weapons call. And when they responded to that weapons call at North 24th Place in an alley, the suspect was waiting for them. There was an ambush. The officers were struck. We were told definitively the officers did not fire back. It sounds like they didn't have a chance to.
They were ambushed.
They were ambushed. And
our sources have said it. The MPA president has said it.
There
and
was
the
no
chief
way.
basically said it.
Right. And so the 29-year-old and the 32-year-old right now were hit, and they are being treated. We are told the 29-year-old has non-life-threatening injuries. The 32-year-old remains in critical condition. Those two officers were from District 2.
But the incident happened in District 3. We should point out that they were in a district other than the ones they are used to patrolling. That's what we know. We were going to take a break, shut down the live broadcast portion of this, but Wake Up News coming your way at 4:30. And in the next few hours, hopefully we begin our Wake Up News with news of an arrest of a suspect in custody, because police made it very clear they will be looking all night for him.
That's right. And we also want to thank our crews. We talked about our reporters, the people that you see, but we also want to thank our crews behind the scene. These are very volatile situations. They put themselves in harm's way, as you saw there. And so with all this activity, those guys are hustling out there, and we really appreciate the work that they are doing for us.
We thank you for spending time with us on this developing story, this breaking news story. We will sign off for now, and Wake Up News coming your way at 4:30. Thanks for being with us tonight.